I never really knew to the extent of the rivalry. Obviously, as a northern lad, I'm thinking, it's right up the motorway.
Obviously, there's this rivalry between Brighton and Crystal Palace, and you end up going to Crystal Palace.
Yes, I did.
Was there any concern in your head that, you know, you've engendered yourself brilliantly with these Brighton fans, you've had a fantastic season. The one way to ruin that legacy is to go with their biggest rivals.
I'd been at Brighton 3.5 years, and it had been a turbulent 3.5 years. I'd lost my way a little bit on a football level. Funnily enough, in the 3.5 years that I was at Brighton, we never came across Crystal Palace once. I never really knew to the extent of the rivalry. Obviously, as a northern lad, I'm thinking, it's right up the motorway. So I never really give it too much thought. It played into the thing that we spoke about earlier in the show. I got to stay around family. My kids could stay at school, even though they got a bit hassle. Like things like that you don't really take into consideration.
No.
It didn't take you long to settle in because you scored against Brighton, didn't you?
Yeah.
For Palace. Did you celebrate?
No. I made the decision not to celebrate. One, for the kids in school, because I didn't want them to get a hard time. And the other, because I didn't hate Brighton. I didn't have a problem with the football club. Listen, we didn't come to an agreement, but I'd had 3.5 years that I enjoyed.
But it's not a case of hating them. You've scored, so your fans want to see you celebrate.
They believe me, Cammy, they did celebrate. But yeah, I suppose it was more from a personal point of view that I didn't want to antagonise any more trouble in the city.
When I decided not to sign for Middlesbrough and I signed from Leeds instead, the gangs or a few people, I don't know, went round and painted stuff on my mum and dad's house.
Is that
and
right?
all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So
and that impacts you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does bother you.
That's the reality of it, isn't it? For you, you've got kids at a school that are going to get, and they would have been little at the time.
Yeah, they were quite little, yeah.
But they can get some grief, albeit, you know, playground grief, but they're going to get grief because dad's suddenly gone to a club. But it's an interesting thing that as fans, we don't necessarily think about. We just think, as Cammy was saying, he scored for my club. I want to see him celebrating scoring for my club because that means so much to me.
I totally understand that, but I suppose more important than the football club I'm playing for is my family. And like you say, it is schoolyard stuff, and it was schoolyard stuff. It was like nothing, but in his eyes, it was everything.
Yeah, of course.
And it's really easy. Like, oh, Glenn Murray's son goes to my school. You tell him like on Saturday, like such and such, and like he's getting a bit hard. I'm like, that's not fair.
No, it's not. Not for a minute.
But yeah, you don't take that into consideration, I suppose. But that is ultimately why I didn't celebrate.